Nigeria taps into potential of waterways for economic growth.
There hasn't been a single reported case of piracy in Nigeria's exclusive economic zone.
2023 appropriations, Senate seeks more funding for Niger Delta.
Now, 10 billion naira, last segment of East West Coast that was broken by the law.
Ahead of 2023 general elections, political parties keep strategizing for victory. Hello and thank you for joining us on the network news on NTA. I'm Naja'atu Tijani. Michael Olaleye will be joining us from Lagos in the course of the bulletin. Remember that this broadcast is being streamed live on our website, nta.ng/live, and you can also follow all our social media handles displayed on the screen. Let's begin with the transportation sector, where the Minister of Transportation, Muazu Jaji Sambu, has announced a date for the commencement of the Abuja-Kaduna train service. The minister announced the date while fielding questions during the PMB scorecard of his ministry. Anthony Forson reports.
I want to address what I call an absurdity that is being bandied about by the opposition PDP.
Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed reacting to what he said is being bandied by the opposition PDP.
That the Buhari administration has nothing to campaign with in the run-up to the 2023 general elections. It is a cruel irony that the party that presided over the affairs of this great country in a time of plenty but could not complete a single modern rail line is the one accusing an administration that has completed at least 3 standard gauge rail lines of lacking achievement.
Pointing at some economic indices like the Naira exchange rate and inflation, he said PDP wouldn't have done better.
The opposition is quick to point to some economic indices like the Naira exchange rate and inflation. But the truth is that if they were the ones confronted with having to fight a once-in-a-century pandemic through economic recessions and low oil prices, Nigeria would have had no economy to even talk about.
In a well-documented scorecard of the Ministry of Transportation, the Minister, Muazu Jaji Sambu, chronicled what his ministry has done under the period in focus. As he said, President Muhammadu Buhari recognizes the role of transportation in socio-economic development. Hence, it was identified by the administration as a fourth in the 9 priority areas of focus. The minister began with maritime.
The ministry, in its versatile and intermodal mandate, has taken charge of the safety and security of the nation's international waters, inland waterways, and railway corridors in collaboration with a wide range of stakeholders. Now, it may interest distinguished ladies and gentlemen to note that the Gulf of Guinea is the most notorious region of the world as far as piracy is concerned. To tame that in Nigeria's exclusive economic zone, the ministry implemented the Deep Blue Project, otherwise known as the Integrated National Security and Waterways Protection Infrastructure.
The Deep Blue Sea Project has air, land and sea assets. The passage of the anti-piracy bill brought a great relief to the maritime communities and other stakeholders in the Gulf of Guinea, West and Central African Maritime Region.
The project is also aimed at enforcing maritime regulations to enhance the safety of lives at sea.
The development of inland waterways transportation was also identified as a viable alternative mode for supporting economic growth.
This administration has also taken inland waterways very seriously as an alternative, indeed a viable alternative mode of transportation. We all know that before now, the three modes of transportation have been road, air, and rail. In fact, rail only came to life under this administration.
Undoubtedly, transportation plays a critical role in the growth and sustainability of other areas, especially in wealth creation, improving access to agricultural production centers and markets. In Abuja, Anthony Forson, NTA News.
Now that report centered primarily on the inland waterways. Now let's take a look at the Kaduna-Abuja rail service.
At the PMB Scorecard series, which featured the transportation sector, the minister was not oblivious of the question, when will the Kaduna-Abuja train service resume?
This month of November, we shall resume that service.
He equally explained why it took this long.
We will not resume this service until every Nigerian held in captivity was reunited with their families. God has made that possible. The security agencies in this country, under the able leadership and support of Mr. President, have made that possible.
With what is on ground, he assured that a sophisticated safety mechanism has been put in place to forestall any of such incidents anywhere in the country. In Abuja, Anthony Forson, NTA News.
Meanwhile, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo has hosted the Christian Association of Nigeria's President Archbishop Daniel Oko, who was at the presidential villa on a courtesy visit. Speaking with State House correspondent Jide Onifade after a closed-door meeting, the CAN president said the visit preludes a planned visit to President Muhammadu Buhari anytime from now.
Of course, you know that CAN is an ecumenical movement, and we're still working towards Christian unity, and at the same time working towards engaging other sectors of Nigeria for the purpose of building a united and virile country.
The Archbishop was accompanied by Pastor Sheyi Malomo, chaplain of the Aso Villa Chapel. The Senate Committee on Niger Delta Affairs is seeking more allocations to the capital component of the Ministry of Niger Delta Affairs in the 2023 appropriations. This was made known when the Minister of Niger Delta, Umana Obong Umana, appeared before the Senate to defend the ministry's proposals. National Assembly correspondent Dayo Ogunshola reports.
3 months in the saddle as Minister of Niger Delta Affairs, Umana Obong Umana is here to face the Senate with a projection into the ministry's proposals next year. In the 2023 budget proposals, the 10 billion capital component allocated to the ministry became a point of concerns.
Our plea to the committee is to please dispassionately look at this because as a minister who really wants to work.
Can 10 billion repair that segment of East West Coast that was broken by the Britain War?
I would like to agree with my colleagues that the allocation of 10 billion for a project in the whole Ministry of Niger Delta, I think is very low.
Then, a position was taken by the committee.
Is that we should still project to the Senate President and the Senate. So now to buy the current minister of the current aspect is returned, but the capital component completely rejected.
The committee for the result on a need analysis by the ministry with stakeholders. From the National Assembly, Dayo Ogunshola, NTA News.
In 1981, a special intervention fund was established as a lifeline to address high-level natural and man-made emergencies. The House of Representatives is interested in knowing how the funds were disbursed and utilized by the concerned agencies. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports that an investigation has opened in that regard.
The federal government, all states and local governments, as well as agencies like NEMA, NEDC, NALDA, and the National Agency for the Great Green Wall are the statutory beneficiaries, and every month they take a share from the Ecological Fund disbursed as the federal allocation meeting. The devastation of the recent flood disaster in 27 states has raised questions of accountability. This investigative hearing seeks answers to how exactly the funds were utilized over the years, going by near absence of infrastructure to contain the disaster.
The House mandated the committee to evaluate disbursement from the ecological funds and assess compliance with the objectives of the funds and our national laws.
Nigerian lives and properties are at stake. During our oversight functions in the past, the committee had provoked sentiments at different fora that all beneficiaries of ecological funds should always strive at managing the funds accruable to them.
The Office of the Accountant General of the Federation gave clarification on disbursements, as some states claimed ignorance.
But the current ratio used now is 52.68% for federal government, 26.72% for state, and 20.60% for local government. It might interest you. Maybe for lack of knowledge, for example, that 0.72 for states, that 72 represent the ecological element of states.
Going forward after today's experience, states, if they really want to apply their resources to the purpose for this fund is made, can come to federal government and copy the way they structure the ecological project office to be able to effectively handle ecological issues in the federal states.
The committee has invited heads of some federal government agencies to appear on Wednesday. Meanwhile, lawmakers from Rivers and Bayelsa states at the House of Representatives have urged MDAs in charge of providing relief and intervention in flood-affected states to ensure that victims across all locations are captured and assisted. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
Cooperate through a climate solidarity pact or perish in a collective suicide pact, United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres warns as world leaders meet for COP27 in Egypt. Onenge Fineface reports that the Leaders' Summit will pave the way for negotiations during the climate conference.
Unprecedented floods ravaged states in Nigeria, compounding already difficult livelihood constraints for the likes of Uzaro John.
Almost 100,000 naira. We pay for tipper to carry out cross the river.
For her sake, the global community is in Egypt for the 27th Conference on Climate Change. It is a conference for implementation of all pledges, promises, and commitments made in the past to check the excesses of climate change.
This is why I'm calling for a universal early warning system coverage within 5 years. And it is why I am asking that all governments tax the windfall profits of fossil fuel companies. Let's redirect that money to people struggling with rising food and energy prices and to countries suffering loss and damage caused by the climate crisis.
Common themes resonating at this summit of world leaders are those of climate finance and loss and damage, where developing countries insist that those in the developed world whose industrialization activities generated the greenhouse gases that are warming the planet to support the adaptation efforts of developing countries.
Although we contribute to the tune of less than 4% in terms of greenhouse gases, Africa is behind low carbon development. We're fighting for climate resilience. We think this has to be a goal so that we achieve carbon neutrality by a reasonable time frame.
When delegates rise from millions impacted by climate extreme would expect never again to suffer this tragedy. In Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt, Onengiye Fine Face, NTA News.
This is the network news on NTA. Stay tuned for more reports after this timeout. Thanks for staying tuned. The new dimension of combating security challenges through kinetic and non-kinetic operations is yielding desired results, says the Minister of Defense, Bashir Magashi, who made this known at the 2022 Annual Defense Advisors and Attachés Annual Conference in Abuja. Defense correspondent Ismail Musa reports.
These are Nigeria's defense advisors and attachés, serving in more than 90 different countries across the world. This annual conference therefore provides an avenue for the Defense Intelligence Agency to review strategic policies aimed at managing the nation's security threats.
All security agencies are encouraged to explore avenues within their respective systems to come up with innovations of identifying and confronting the challenges facing us as a nation.
The smart approaches we have been employing are yielding positive outcomes. In the Northeast and Northwest, we have been recording a high degree of success in operations as well as satisfactory levels of peace and stability.
With the transborder nature of emerging security challenges, the conference is focusing on sustaining Nigeria's defense and security, the role of the defense attaché system.
As we all know, the terrorist group leverage on foreign affiliations to sustain their franchise. The need for international cooperation in countering the terror groups cannot be overemphasized. Defense attaché and advisors have done well to elicit this cooperation from their countries of accreditation and to deny the same support to our adversaries.
The project for the expansion of the DIA headquarters from 3 to 6 floor structure was also flagged off. From the Defense Intelligence Headquarters in Abuja, Ismail Musa, NTA News.
Away from defense, relief materials worth millions of naira have been distributed to flood-affected communities of Niger Delta Exploration and Production PLC, Dibabari Sedo Mamweki reports.
The impact of the flood in Niger Delta Exploration and Production Company host communities has left the locals devastated with their buildings and farmland submerged. In a bid to ameliorate the sufferings of the flood victims, Niger Delta Exploration and Production Company distributed relief materials to host communities, ranging from consumables to non-consumable items.
The company deemed it fit that at least in its own small way to be able to sympathize with the victims and also assist traditional rulers, the local government who have been battling to help the people survive.
Receiving the relief materials on behalf of Ubasa Kingdom and other communities' representatives, His Royal Majesty Eze Felix Otuwarikbo thanked the company for their kind gesture and promised that it would be evenly distributed.
But this is one company that has come out very bold and make this robust contribution to mitigate the suffering of our people.
Today demonstrated that they are indeed a very responsible and responsive corporate organization.
On behalf of the Odwa local government, we are saying thank you for coming to this time of pain, for ensuring that we ameliorate our suffering.
Earlier, the company also extended their hands of fellowship to the flood victims of Emoha and the queried local government areas. It is expected that the relief materials will go a long way in cushioning the effects of the flood in host communities of Niger Delta Exploration and Production Company. In Port Harcourt, Dibabari Siedomaweke, NTA News.
Meanwhile, Salbus Oil and Gas Nigeria Limited has inaugurated 5 retail outlets in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, out of which 2 are mega stations. The Chief Operating Officer of the company, Abdullahi Abu Masanawa, says the move is to boost the downstream sector in line with the company's retail outlet extension drive. Kenneth Nanim reports.
Incorporated in 2003, the management of Salbus Oil and Gas Nigeria Limited is pointing to the inauguration of 5 retail outlets in the FCT, of which 2 are mega stations along Airport Road, Lube, and the Katambe area along Kubwa Expressway, as major feats achieved so far.
With about 1,200,000 liters capacity and 320,000 nozzles to dispense the product.
With 35 retail outlets nationwide, Salbus Oil and Gas Company is now well positioned to end the queues at filling stations to achieve customer satisfaction.
We have already made arrangements now to load about 50 trucks that are dedicated to supplies in Abuja. We have a storage capacity of about 45,000 liters each in Ogara and Wari. So we don't envisage any break in the supply.
Elisha is one of the numerous customers who took advantage of the availability of the product sold at government-regulated pump price of 175 naira per litre.
Their pump seems to be very accurate and it's quite impressive. The mode of conduct that they allow cars in is quite very genuine, very transparent. And the filling station is on both sides, so all the tanks are serving.
The company is confident that it will not be deterred by market forces to shortchange its customers.
We are a law-abiding company, so we sell 1 liter for 1 liter. By the grace of God, we will make sure that we maintain that status.
The Salbus Oil and Gas Nigeria Limited also is in the business of job creation and has over 800 trained staff strength, delivering quality service nationwide. Kenneth Nanim, NTA News.
On the other hand, motorists are lamenting the presence of petrol queues in Abuja, which has persisted for weeks. They are worried about what they call the erratic nature of the downstream and the productive hours they waste in search of petrol, as well as its negative effect on the economy. Lydia Sampson reports.
There's queue everywhere, but if you go to other neighboring places, there is fuel everywhere, but the price is too high. There are some places they are selling 250, some places they are selling 230, but inside Abuja they are still selling normal price.
Daniel Suleiman's frustration resonates with all the motorists interviewed. They are confused about the fuel situation, which has refused to abate for weeks now and is still undermining their daily productivity and struggle for survival.
We are in this queue for a very long time. It's getting worse. Last week we were thinking it's getting better. We were thinking it's because of the local expressway. But the way things are going now, it's getting difficult for people to buy fuel. I don't know when it's going to be regulated about these issues.
Up to now, I didn't get my fuel, and I have a serious duty to perform.
While most petrol stations within the metropolis don't have products at the moment, the few that have products are overwhelmed with queues. But the ironic aspect of it all is that petrol holders, hitherto called black marketers, are all over the streets with products. And people have asked again and again, where are they getting their products from?
In the digital world, whoever sees it, maybe they should please, maybe just everybody has a phone and has a small, just put a camera. I urge the populace to do their own possible best to also help us in knowing those kind of bad acts.
A drive round Abuja reveals the petrol hawkers on the streets openly displaying various means in dispensing and selling their products in the cans. While many question the real reason for the current petrol hardship, others are wondering if petrol price has increased.
There are government controlled prices, which we have in Abuja at 175.
On whether there is no longer government intervention through subsidy, he says what is unfolding is the beginning of the end of deregulation. For now, Daniel Suleiman and other motorists are hoping for at least seamless product availability irrespective of the price. As they say, getting from petrol station is always better and safer than getting from the black marketers who increase their selling price.
To judicial matters now. Judicial officers who will be adjudicating the 2023 post-election matters are in Abuja to prepare themselves for the task ahead. In the next 4 days, they will be brainstorming on how to ensure that all verdicts are in line with the law, as well as reducing conflicting judgments from the tribunals. The Delia Tumbi of our judiciary desk reports that justices of the Court of Appeal are also attending a capacity building workshop to enhance the performance of the court in various divisions across the country.
307 judicial officers are the ones to be empaneled as members of the National Assembly, House of Assembly and Governorship Election Petition Tribunals for the 2023 general election. Section 285 subsections 1 and 2 provide for the establishment of the tribunals to determine the validity or otherwise of the elections of candidates for the offices in the National Assembly, House of Assembly and Governor of any state. These tribunals served as trial court and their decisions are subject to appeal. Administering the oath of office on the judicial officers, the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Luka Odiaruwola, urged them to be upright in all their decisions. Both the Chief Justice of Nigeria and the President of the Court of Appeal charged the judicial officers to protect the integrity of the judiciary in all their decisions as they uphold the truth and dispense justice accordingly.
I can confidently tell you that this is a weighty undertaking you have just signed before the Almighty God. I am saying this because as the Chief Justice of Nigeria, I will not condone any act of recklessness, abuse of power, and public trust. This is a real privilege, and your lordships must give a good account of yourselves.
You must resist all and any form of pressure and influence, as well as gratification that may come your way.
To aid their assignment, the Court of Appeal produced a Judicial Electoral Manual 2022 containing decided cases on electoral matters. INEC Chairman Professor Mahmood Yakubu appealed to the judiciary to assist the country in deepening constitutional democracy.
The new Electoral Act confers exclusive jurisdiction to hear pre-election cases on the Federal High Court with regard to candidate nomination in order to reduce forum shopping by litigants, abuse of court process, and reduction in the spate of conflicting judgments by courts of coordinate jurisdiction.
Justices of the Court of Appeal are also in Abuja for their capacity building workshop. The Court of Appeal under the Nigerian law is the court of first instance regarding any question arising from the conduct of presidential election. In Abuja, Dele Atumbi, NTA News.
From Abuja, we'll now head to Lagos, where Michael is standing by with more reports. Head to Lagos, where Michael is by with
Africa are in Lagos for a week-long arts and culture festival. Abdullahi Mohammed reports that rehearsals have already taken center stage.
The drums do the talk, dance and drama, a depiction of the diverse culture of the continent of Africa. All in one of the sets and performance stages of the 35th Festival of Culture. A co-festival. It all started here in Lagos when the Civil War ended with no winner, no vanquish. And it's back again to the same city, with culture as a tool for peaceful coexistence.
Now, you cannot be talking of coexistence when the people don't interact, when the people don't meet. So that's why NAFES is a platform for everybody to meet and interact and put things together in the right perspective. And that is why we're having NAFES to integrate and bring our people together, appreciate and understand each other.
The Ayo masquerade are Telugu dances, Koroso and parades of Africa's beautiful fabrics will all have a chance on the stage as the festival lasts. But the rehearsals for the big event starts now, and Oshushu takes center stage.
We talked about how united we were then and present now. That there are a lot of hypocrisy, lot of nepotism, all these problems, Boko Haram, insurgencies, and the bandits. Some people are behind all these people, and they are doing it to sabotage the good government of the Mr. President.
Rehearsals on the stage in preparation for the grand performance that is supposed to take place on this stage tonight. From the National Institute of Sport in Surulere, Abdullah Mohammed continues.
The much anticipated Black Panther sequel, Wakanda Forever, an American superhero film produced by Marvel Studios, was premiered for the first time in Lagos, Nigeria, with a cast and crew present. Amaka Owo reports that the movie projects African cultural heritage.
Black Panther Wakanda Forever hits theaters soon. Cast and crew were in Nigeria for the first time to kick off continent-wide movie talent tour. This is the first time a Marvel movie is premiering locally with a large group of talents, filmmakers and press on hand for the black carpet rollout.
It's really beautiful to be able to draw on some ancestral knowledge to create characters.
We've never seen ourselves represented in this way before, and it's about time that we see it and we embrace it and we love it.
The pride that I saw Black people across the world, not just here, have, and even people who weren't Black, just connected to it so richly. That to me is it's everything.
The composer of the soundtrack, he's a great composer, and he really allowed us to bring in new artists, bring in new producers to collaborate with him and bring the sound of the movie into the real world.
The stories from here need to be part of Hollywood, and I think that the audience is there for them.
I think it just helps to further bring attention to Nigeria and what we're doing here on the continent. And it's a moment of pride.
Who knows where we can go from here? Maybe part 3 will be shot in Nigeria.
Wakanda Forever bridges the gap between the global film industries and the Nigerian ecosystem to project the vast cultural and material resources of the African continent. In Lagos, Amaka O, NTA News.
The news will continue after this break. Please stay.
All is now set for the second edition of The Candidates, a presidential town hall series featuring candidates of political parties. The Candidates, which is an original Daria Media concept, supported by the MacArthur Foundation, NTA and YouTube, will be launched on the 17th of November 2022 and will be live on NTA, FRCN, Radio Now, DSTV, YouTube, Facebook and more. The 2-hour live televised town hall meeting series of the presidential and vice presidential candidates will feature the 6 leading political parties, which were selected using a combination of editorial judgment, aggregated polls by the Center for Democracy and Development, occupation of elective offices and presence across the country. The candidates' presidential town hall will start with Prince Adewale Adebayo and running mate Yusuf Buhari of the Social Democratic Party. Omoyele Stephen Shawore and running mate Haruna Garba Magashi of the African Action Congress Party will be on the 18th of November 2022. Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso and running mate Isaac Idahosa of the New Nigeria People's Party will be on 19th November 2022. Peter Obi and running mate Yusuf Detti Baba Ahmed of the Labour Party on 21st November 2022. Atiku Abubakar and running mate Ifeanyi Okowa of the People's Democratic Party 22nd November 2022. While Bola Ahmed Tinubu and running mate Shatima Kashim of the All Progressives Congress Party will feature on the 23rd of November 2022. Gadriya Ahmed, who has been moderating presidential debates and town halls since the 2011 elections, will moderate each town hall of the candidates this year as well. An audience of 100 people for each town hall, including CSOs and the diplomatic corps, will be participating to provide an opportunity for Nigerians to hear directly from the candidates and to ask them questions on governance and nation building. Meanwhile, the All Progressives Congress presidential candidate Bola Ahmed Tinubu says his target is to build on foundations laid by the present administration in the area of agriculture by revamping all cultivable arable land across the country from 35 to 65% if given the mandate. This indication was made known at a town hall meeting with Northern Agro-Commodity Groups in Minna, with a promise to secure Nigeria with food sufficiency. Fatima Aliu reports.
Niger is one of the states in the country with great potential of agricultural production due to the gifts of arable land suitable for cultivation of varieties of crops capable of meeting the country's demand in food security. Sadly, the Nigerian communities in the states have over the years come under terrorist attacks, which have negatively affected agriculture and investment in the sector. The meeting of Bola Shetima with agro-commodity groups in northern Nigeria, which attracted people of vested interests across the country, is that of renewed hope and commitment to revamp the sector.
Help is here. Prosperity is with the farmers. Be reassured as farmers that you will have the necessary protection in the market. That is why we promise you that commodity exchange will start immediately you elect me the President of Federal Republic of Nigeria.
The singular fact that the Tinubu government is planning to focus on agriculture as the major driver of Nigerian economic rejuvenation is a promising move that the leadership of Tinubu-Shetima government is fully prepared to lead the nation to the promised land. Their
value chain, that is where the success of agriculture lies. Because you produce and you can't add value to what you produce, you won't maximize the benefit of what you have produced.
Heads of various agricultural associations took turns to pledge their allegiance to the candidature of the APC presidential standard bearer and his running mates come 2023 general elections. Governors on the entourage of the APC presidential candidates include that of Plateau, Kebbi and Jigawa. In Minna, Fatima Aliu, NTA News.
The African Democratic Congress presidential candidate Dumebi Kachuku has kicked off his campaign in Abuja with a promise to turn the fortunes of the nation around for good. Linda Okori-Igwe reports.
Expressing his readiness to work and lead his party to victory in the 2023 presidential elections, Kachuku says running for the highest office in the land is not a decision he made on the spur of the moment, but one that has been defined by the very essence of his life.
I will do everything to engineer or activate or reignite our economy. We must rescue Nigeria. A rescue mission is not the mission of one hero. We must all be heroes in our personal spaces. So the aggregation of all our efforts will deliver our country. I will be the president who is comfortable telling the Nigerian people on a daily basis that he loves them.
He challenges the citizens to define their common character as Nigerians and constitute a new nation.
The sanctity and dignity of life will be restored under my watch. We must not let our basic decency as human beings be eroded. Our precious women will join us on the table of equality. Under my presidency, this office will serve and protect the Nigerian people.
Kachuku plans to hold town hall meetings across the nation as he advocates peace, unity in the country, irrespective of religious or geographical differences. In Abuja, Linda Okori-Igwe, NTA News.
IMF Managing Director Kristalina Georgieva says the price of carbon needs to average, well, I'll leave that to Musa of our business desk to tell us more. Over to you, Musa.
Thank you, Najatu.
IMF Managing Director Kristalina Georgieva says the price of carbon needs to average at least $75 a ton globally by the end of the decade for global climate goals to succeed. The head of the International Monetary Fund told Reuters, speaking on the sidelines of the COP27 in Egypt, the IMF boss said the pace of change in the real economy was still way too slow, explaining that unless the world price carbon predictably on a trajectory that gets it at least to $75 average price per ton of carbon in 2030, it simply don't create the incentive for businesses and consumers to shift. While some regions such as the European Union already price carbon at above that level, the EU's benchmark price is around 76 euros a ton. Other regions such as the US state of California see carbon allowances selling for just under $30 per ton, while some have no price at all. Georgieva said there were different routes a country could take. Now, oil prices edged lower on Monday, pairing gains after rising to more than 2 months high on mixed signal over strict COVID-19 restrictions in China, the world's top crude importer. Reuters reports that Brent crude futures were down 36 cents to $98.21 a barrel earlier in the session. They rose to a session high of $99.56 a barrel, the highest since August 31st. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude dropped 36 cents to $92.25. The capital market is a positive start for the equities market this Monday. The whole share index inched up slightly higher than the previous trading session to close at 44,269.43 basis point as investors exchanged 103.26 million securities valued at 2.13 billion naira in 3,206 deals. Equity capitalization appreciated to 24.1 trillion naira. Zenith Bank and Guarantee Trust Holding Company were among the top traders for the day. Now the news continues after the break.
Let's now join our sports desk. Sports Update concludes the news on NTA. Thanks for watching. Remember to keep standing with NTA against rape and rapists.